In a world where everyone is trying to sell you something, how is trust really built online? That's the huge question we're going to break down today. We're talking about the real architecture of digital trust.
So let's just jump right in with a quote that gets to the heart of it all. If your trust lives only on your website, traders won't believe you. Now, that feels kind of backward, right? I mean, we're all taught that a great website is everything. But it turns out, in high-stakes industries, what you say about yourself is probably the least believable thing you can say. And this really gets to the core question. When absolutely anyone can whip up a perfect-looking digital storefront, how do you and I tell the difference between what's real and what's fake? How does that genuine trust actually get built from the ground up? All right, so let's start by tackling what we could call the illusion of trust. For years, we all thought that a great website was the gold standard. But as we're about to see, it's not the foundation of trust anymore. It's just the price of admission. We all do this, right? The second we land on a new website, our brain just runs this super quick mental checklist. We're scanning for these signals. Okay, does it have a professional design? Check. Do I see any familiar-looking badges? Yep. Are their social media profiles active? Okay. Do they claim to be regulated? Great. These are the little mental shortcuts we've all been trained to look for to feel safe. But here's the massive flaw in that whole system. The problem is, scammers and legitimate businesses are working from the exact same playbook. A beautiful website, professional logos, a busy-looking social media feed, all of it is just incredibly easy to fake. The very signals we were taught to rely on, they've been totally compromised. So this leads us to this really fundamental shift in how we think. The new default for any savvy person online isn't neutral anymore, it's total skepticism. Basically, every new brand is considered guilty until it can prove itself innocent.
And this didn't just happen overnight. Especially in high-stakes areas like finance and trading, trust just got chipped away one scandal at a time. First, we saw fake licenses popping up. Then, we saw entire fake regulatory bodies. We heard stories about companies just disappearing with their clients' money, their websites just vanishing into thin air. This whole history has basically trained us to be suspicious from the get-go.
So after all that history, all that erosion, where does a new brand actually start in the mind of a smart consumer? The answer is right here. Zero. Absolutely zero trust. It has to earn every single ounce of credibility from scratch. And you can really see the change right here. The old question used to be pretty simple. Is this business legitimate? But now the question is so much harder. Okay, why should I believe this one is any different from all the others? The burden of proof has completely flipped from you, the consumer, to the business.
Okay, so this gets us to the core of the problem, what I'm calling the control paradox. This is the main reason why a company's own marketing, all their own messages, have just become so useless at building real trust. It all comes down to this one simple, powerful truth. Anyone can say absolutely anything they want on their own website. We just know intuitively that on a company's home turf, they control the entire story. And because of that, their claims just don't carry much weight at all. Think about it like this. On one side, you've got the controlled environment. That's the company's own website, their About Us page, the awards they give themselves. But on the other side, you've got the uncontrolled environment. What actually shows up when you Google them, what's being said on neutral news sites, and what people are talking about in forums. Now, guess which one we all trust more?
And this is a really important point. If a potential customer Googles a brand and finds nothing outside of that brand's own website and social media, that's not a neutral sign. To a modern consumer, that silence is a massive red flag. It's actually deeply suspicious. So if you can't build trust on your own property, where do you build it? Well, the answer is you have to build it on neutral ground. And this next section is all about the real architecture of what modern digital trust looks like.
So what do people actually trust? Well, it's pretty simple. We trust the stuff that doesn't feel like marketing. We're looking for signs of life that the company didn't create themselves. This means things like validation from third parties, visibility on independent websites, and just neutral information that the brand clearly doesn't control.
And this brings us to this core concept called a trust asset. Now, this is not an ad. It's a piece of factual, verifiable information about your brand that exists out there in the wild, in a neutral, searchable third-party place. Its purpose isn't to sell you something. Its purpose is simply to exist. Let's make this super concrete with an example. A press release, right? It can be one of two things. If it's a promotion, its goal is to sell. Its tone is full of hype, and it lives on the company's blog. But if it's a trust asset, its goal is just to exist and state facts. Its tone is neutral, and it gets published on independent news platforms. See the difference? One is just marketing, the other is evidence.
So, as we start to wrap this up, it is so important to understand that this is not some quick fix. Building this kind of real, deep trust is a long-term process. It is not a short-term marketing campaign.
And honestly, this is why most brands fail to do it right. First, they want an immediate return on their investment from something that just takes time to grow. Second, they are absolutely terrified of not controlling the message 100%. And third, they fall into that old trap of trying to sell and promote instead of just informing and existing out there on neutral ground. The digital footprint of a truly trustworthy brand, it's like planting a tree. It's built consistently, little by little over a long time. It's based on facts, not hype. It exists independently, away from the company's direct control. And just like that tree, its value compounds, growing stronger and more solid with every new piece of evidence that appears.
Which brings us right back to where we started with this powerful closing idea. In any situation where the stakes are high, if you have to ask someone to just take your word for it, the trust is already gone. People need to find the proof for themselves. So I'll just leave you with this question to think about. Consider the brands you really, truly trust. Maybe it's your bank or your favorite online shop. Where does that trust actually come from? Is it from their slick ads and their beautiful website? Or is it from the footprint of evidence you've seen over time existing on neutral ground, completely outside of their control?